Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Wednesday, August 6th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over my core picks. It's going to be 5 players in total, 1 pitcher, 4 hitters. That's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk through my top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday's slate overall. In the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report, and that will have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher listed down there. And then I'll also be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in the comment section, especially as we do get closer to lock, so that you do have the most up-to-date and relevant information as possible. But without further ado, we'll get right into it with the core picks. We're going to start off at that pitcher position. We have George Kirby at $9,200. He's averaging just under 31 fantasy points per game. He's going against the Chicago White Sox. He has good but limited history versus the Chicago White Sox in the past. He had 1 start versus them in 2024 where he did put up 52 fantasy points, so definitely do like the upside of him just in general on this smaller slate. But if we take a look at what George Kirby's done so far in the season, he's got 6 wins, ERA at 4.12, so did struggle a little bit earlier on in the season, but has been better as of late. Once again, averaging just under 31 fantasy points per game at $9,200. And then we're going to move down to our hitters. We're going to start off with second baseman Ozzie Albies. He's at $2,800, averaging just over 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He's going against the Milwaukee Brewers. The expected starting pitcher for them is Jose Quintana. He is 8 for 16 with 3 home runs versus Jose Quintana in his career. And Ozzie Albies has at least 1 hit in 5 out of his last 6 games. 2 multi-games during that time span, 0 home runs though, so that's kind of the one downside for him. He hasn't hit for a lot of power so far this season, but he does have 3 double-digit performances in those 6 games, so been doing a little bit better as of late. If we look at what he's done so far in the season, 226 average, 9 home runs, 43 RBIs. Once again, averaging just over 8 fantasy points per game at $2,800. Definitely do understand if you don't want to play him, but that history versus Jose Quintana in the past is very good, although it has been a relatively disappointing season for Ozzie Albies just in general. Then we're going to move down to third base with Blaze Alexander of the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's at $2,400, averaging just under 6 fantasy points per game on the season. Have to keep in mind for most of the season, he's kind of been like a utility player, a part-time player, bounce back and forth between the majors and AAA. Looks like he's getting his chance to get a full-time starting gig now at third base with no Eugenio Suarez as he was moved at the trade deadline. He's going against the San Diego Padres. Nestor Cortez is the expected starting pitcher for them. He is 2 for 3 versus Nestor Cortez in his career, so a very small sample size there. Blaze Alexander, as of late, he is on a 4-game hitting streak. 1 multi-hit game during that time span, 1 home run, 2 double-digit performances in 3 games, and 9 fantasy points or higher. So definitely offers a relatively safe floor overall, especially if he's in that starting lineup. Make sure that he's ultimately in that starting lineup, but he's a very versatile piece at a cheap price tag. You can play him at second base, shortstop, or third base. So definitely do like his upside in his new full-time role. But with that being said, if we look at what he's done so far in the season, keep in mind very small sample size here. So 231 average, 1 home run, 6 RBIs. Once again, averaging just under 6 fantasy points per game at $2,400. Then we're going to move down to shortstop with Trevor Story. He's at $3,200, averaging over 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season. He's been doing really well as of late, so he's found his way into our core picks more times than not as of late, but he is going against the Kansas City Royals. Michael Wacha is the expected starting pitcher for them. He's 3 for 8 versus Michael Wacha in his career, and he's on a modest 6-game hitting streak. I know that he did bump it up to 7 on Tuesdays night. I know a lot of these games are still very much in play at the time of this recording, so not talking too much about what happened on Tuesday, but I know that he did bump it up to a 7-game hitting streak. 4 multi-hit games, 3 home runs, 6 double-digit performances, so definitely do like what he's been doing as of late. If we look at what he's done so far in the season in totality, 259 batting average, 18 home runs, 72 RBIs, once again averaging over 10.5 fantasy points per game at $3,200. And then last but not least, we're going to move down to the outfield with Mike Yastrzemski at $2,600, averaging just under 8 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Boston Red Sox. Dustin May is the expected starting pitcher for them. Mike Yastrzemski is the Kansas City Royal with the most experience versus him in the past. He is 5 for 11 versus Dustin May in his career. And if you look at what he's done as of late, he has at least 1 hit in 3 out of his last 5 games. 1 multi-hit game during that time span, 1 home run, and 2 double-digit performances. So it's been a little bit of a hit-or-miss season for Mike Yastrzemski, but it is a matchup that looks really attractive on paper, going against Dustin May, who he's hit very well in the past. And then with that being said, if we look at what he's done so far in the season, 231 batting average, 9 home runs, 31 RBIs. Once again, averaging just under 8 fantasy points per game at $2,600. But with that being said, if you go the 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $14,800 remaining, $3,700 remaining per player, so you can essentially pay up for pretty much anyone else you want the rest of the way from here. Obviously, there are some values in this core pick, so if you don't want to play a bunch of the values together, if you want to pay up a little bit more, have a little bit more balance build, that's definitely something you can do as well. Obviously, stacks will play a pretty big role just in general. It's a 5-game main slate, so a smaller slate, so definitely feel free to get creative and mix and match as you guys do see fit. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday's slate overall. And we're going to start off with the Athletics. They're going against the Washington Nationals. Cade Cavalli is making the start. He has not started a major league game since 2002, so definitely some pretty decent upside there. Obviously, he came back from Tommy John surgery, then was a little bit banged up and suffered some setbacks. Hasn't been too great in AAA, but getting the start. So I definitely do like the Athletics in this matchup. None of their hitters have faced Cade Cavalli in the past. Then we move over to the Padres going against Anthony DeSclafani. So DeSclafani, once upon a time, he was a serviceable pitcher, but injuries have kind of got the best of him. He's a little bit up there in age, probably not going to pitch too deep into this game. And some of these Padres hitters have hit him pretty decently in the past, whether that is Fernando Tatis, Luis Ariz, or Elias Diaz. Those would be the 3 main ones who have really done well against him in the past. Then we have the Arizona Diamondbacks. They are going against Nestor Cortez, making his return to the mound. He's been out for quite some time, so we'll see how effective he is in this start, how deep he pitches into the game. Diamondbacks do have very limited history versus him in the past. And then last but not least, we have the Kansas City Royals going against Dustin May. Not a long list history there, but a lot of their hitters have fared decently well versus him in the past. But with that being said, these are my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday, August 6th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then once again in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report. They have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then I'll also be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section below so that you do have the most up-to-date and relevant information as we do head into lock. But with that being said, if you're brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos, typically Monday through Friday. This week we will not be having Thursday. It's a smaller slate. It's kind of a weird slate just in general. So we'll not have Thursday, but we'll be sharing some notes over on my Patreon page at the same time as well. And then I also do have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week that typically comes out on Wednesdays. So definitely feel free to check that out if that's something you're interested in as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS and PrizePicks. If you're a brand new user on either one of those sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For PrizePicks, it's 100% match up to $100, and then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Wednesday, August 6th.